Emergency edition here on the Field of 68 because of an extortion, Jeff Greer. Extortion in Louisville. What do you think? I mean, you're a longtime Louisville guy. You've covered this program a long time. Dino Gaudio, former assistant, has been charged with extortion. He was fired by his good friend Chris Mack about 2 months ago now, and he didn't take to it very well. Basically threatening, saying he wanted to get paid for the next year and a half, or else he would go to, I don't know if he said the NCAA or Louisville. I think
he said the media.
The media, probably everybody. I mean, probably would have called you, Jeff, maybe me, certainly Fran Fraschilla and all his boys. And basically, he was going to threaten to turn Chris Mack in. And the bombshell, Jeff Greer, the bombshell was because a graduate assistant was illegally practicing. And also, they were using personalized things in recruiting videos. Holy crap, Jeff. What is that, like a 10-year show cause?
I mean, it's just so weird to me. Like, I get the frustration of not having your contract extended. I get the frustration of being close with someone for as long as those two have been friends. I mean, they've been friends since the early 90s. I mean, they've known each other for 3 decades. You're talking about 2 guys who were on Skip Prosser's staff at Wake Forest and came up with the tie-dye T-shirts and the motorcycle Midnight Madness entrance and all that stuff together at Wake Forest. And to see it end like this is extremely bizarre and quite the crash landing of a relationship. And it sucks. I mean, I think we forget a lot in all of this, that these are human beings, and it's got to be, Dino's, I saw a quote from an attorney apparently representing him who said, he's already asking people to consider 40 years of his professional relationships and his behavior instead of a couple of minutes of indiscretion. And that's basically just saying, like, yeah, this happened. And I just, it's Jeff, shocking.
Do you blame him? Do you blame him? He was pissed. He was probably like, not only are you getting fired at whatever, 63, 64 years old, you're getting fired by a good friend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. But you also don't make threats. I mean, I can't believe this has risen to the FBI, the level of the FBI. But we've been saying that about stuff in college basketball for a few years now. So it's just crazy.
Like I get, and I don't even get the whole thing of the federal investigations and guys going to jail over that. That was ridiculous. But I understand. Like these are level 2 violations. They are completely irrelevant to me.
But they're on probation, Jeff. That's the thing. That's
care.
I know, but that's I think that's the basis of all of this. Is like, in a vacuum, they're minor. But I think maybe in Dino's head, as he's frustrated with all of this, he knows that the program is on pins and needles, walking on eggshells with everything. And he could bring something like this up and maybe felt like he had something in the holster. But I mean, again, this is federal stuff. This isn't
why would the FBI even care about this? When what I'm told is a day later, Dino was like, no, like this was all a misunderstanding. I wasn't going to extort. I was pissed off. And obviously, if you're Louisville, why would you want it to get to this point? You don't. Even though you may not be at fault in any of this, ultimately, it's bad publicity. So you don't want it out there. So both sides, like to me,
and it just continues. It just continues the Louisville and the headlines stuff. Yeah. And I mean, if this happened at, I don't know, USC or that's probably a bad example. Yeah, but if this happened at like Colorado, or if this happened at programs that have not been in the national, I mean, it would probably get a column or 2 out of some of you national guys, and people would talk about it. But it just wouldn't rise to the same level. But Louisville, because of everything else that's been going on, is going to get that extra dramatic explosion of a reaction to it. And it just, again, I mean, that it's risen to this level is stunning to me. So I guess.
So do you think, Jeff, like, what do you think will be the overall, because for me, I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, and people will say, well, Jeff's friendly with Chris Mack, this, that, and the other. Like, I get it. Like, you say whatever you want. I don't care what coach does this. I'm going to say it's a load of bullshit. Mm-hmm. Like to me, if you got level 1 violations, that's one thing. If Dino Gaudio said, hey, I'm going to turn you in for paying players, all right, that you got my attention. But about a TA going on the court to practice or putting in, I don't know, a kid's name, or I don't know what they did in the recruiting video, like to me, that's a load of BS. And I don't care who does it. I'm going to have the same reaction. What do you think the reaction is going to be like from most national writers?
From the national folks, again, I mean, I think it's just Louisville. And once you see Louisville, no pun intended, you see red. And that's not to blame national media either, because, I mean, Louisville has stepped in it repeatedly. And I think it's just this they didn't bring this on themselves. They didn't ask for this. This just happened to them. And they had a guy go rogue here. And it just kind of ended up being another situation where Louisville fans, the reaction is the same thing. It's like, really, again? We're in the headlines again. And we've talked, like, whenever anything happens with Louisville, the rumblings start 24 hours before something happens here. And it just starts to build and build, and all these people are like, something's happening in Louisville, and then it comes up. And it's just the attitude here has been same old, and I don't blame national writers for having somewhat of the same approach to it of Louisville's in the headlines again for something that you just would not believe.
Yeah, again, I would blame that more on the higher ups at Louisville, not for figuring out a way to avoid it getting to this point.
But how can you call? You can't, once the FBI or the U.S. attorney or whoever it is, like, has this stuff in their hands, you can't call them back and say, actually, never mind, right? Like, I don't think it works like that.
I don't know how it works, but I got to figure both sides here did not want it going any further.
No question.
That's the only thing I'd say. It's usually when there's extortion, like, there's one side that is pissed off enough to say, like, no, we want it out there. I don't think either side wanted it out there. No. So that's where I don't understand, to me, how it got this far. Will there be any repercussions, do you think? Like, will this affect them recruiting-wise or with anything? I mean, they've got a brand new staff now. Their roster is pretty much set. Is this a 24-hour news cycle thing and then it goes away?
I don't know about 24 hours. I mean, because as long as it proceeds and it doesn't just get figured out behind the scenes. I mean, at the federal level, I don't know how common that is. I'm not as familiar with those cases, but I would say that this will probably keep popping up through the summer as we hear more about developments in the case and that kind of stuff. I don't see how it hurts recruiting. I think it certainly damages the brand name, just, again, having the headline of Louisville in there, which I think is probably the biggest frustration for them. But nothing's going to hurt the recruiting as much as the stuff that has already been plastered everywhere for the last couple of years. I mean, especially the stripper scandal a couple of years ago. That, I think, is the biggest one that has continued to hurt Louisville on the recruiting trail, whether we want to admit it or not. Like, Louisville feels like their program is good enough to go out and recruit 5-star kids, and obviously they've gotten them in the past, and they've tried to get into the mix with a lot of these guys, and it's been more difficult because of all of the reputational hits that they've taken the last couple of years. I don't think that this will be a leading issue, but it certainly keeps their name in the headlines, which for them is an impediment.
The one thing we know now, Jeff, is that Chris Mack isn't paying players, because if he was, Dino Gaudio probably would have accused him of paying players and not of GAs being on the court and recruiting videos, right?
You said it, not me. I'm not taking any stand on that one. I don't want to ever commit to anything again after everything else that I've covered over the last 8 years.
Yeah. No, listen. What type of confidence do you have that they can get back in the NCAA tournament and be a national player again? Because, it's one thing not to get in the tournament, but I think for Louisville fans, even if you get in and you get knocked out early, like that's not enough. Like you got to go to the second weekend if you're a Louisville head coach, don't you?
Yeah, look, I think Louisville fans expect them to be in the tournament every year. I think if you have a good enough team, maybe every 2 years to make that kind of run to the second weekend, be in the mix for Sweet 16s and Elite Eights, people will be happy. But the bottom line is in this region, there's high expectations for every major program here. So, and Chris Mack knows that. He knows that in his bones. So the question is, can they get back to that level with the NCAA stuff still lingering? Once the NCAA stuff clears, they know what they're having to deal with, then I think it's kind of like, okay, yeah, now you've got to start producing here and start winning a lot of games and being competitive.
Yeah, I think they have a team certainly more capable. In this day and age, if you don't have skill guys, you don't have a shot. And they didn't have enough guys that could score the ball last year. Now you add in shooters to some good returning players. You get a healthy Malik Williams. Obviously, you're going to miss Carleek. And you'll miss David Johnson on some days. I mean, the one thing with David Johnson is you never knew what you were getting from game to game. So I think there'll be a tournament team. Also, just a text I got from somebody telling me, somebody from the NCAA saying, these are level 3 violations, not level 2.
Okay, there you go.
Violations. So, I mean, this is honestly, and I said this earlier, I kind of knew this was coming. You actually were the one who tipped me off that it was coming earlier today. So I did some due diligence. This is much to do about nothing. And again, like we opened with, if this weren't Louisville, this would be a tweet and we're done with it. And maybe locally there would be a few columns, but I'm not even sure national people would go into it. But again, because it's Louisville, there'll certainly be their share of people taking shots at the program of, like you said, probably poking fun more than anything else. I think that's what you're going to get tomorrow and tonight. Our columns just saying, like, really? I can't. Louisville can't get out of its own way. And I get it. I get it. If you're a Louisville fan, you are frustrated and just saying, like, can't we just have nice things again? Can't
it's May. It's supposed to be quiet right now. You're supposed to have a little buzz after hiring your assistant coaches. But Jeff, I mean, you know this, and Chris is learning this since he's come here. Everything is in the prism of Louisville versus Kentucky. Right. Everything. Every sports radio show in town, everything is U of L versus UK, right down to, we've got offensive and defensive line coaches on the football teams talking trash to each other with a couple of teams that their best year is going to be like 9-3, 10-2, and maybe competing in their division for possibly sneaking into to the conference championship. And they still talk trash all the time about every little detail. So, I mean, it just never ends, and it's just more fuel to the fire. That's the way it is around here, and it's been that way really the last 15, 20 years since Pitino got here, and then Cal came, and it's really just become this heightened tension at all times.
All right, well, there you have it. Our emergency pod with Jeff Greer. We got it done. Now I'm taking my wife to the Celtics playing game, so I got to get going. It's 75 degrees. I promised her a good dinner, so I'm going to get out, change, and get out. But again, much to do about nothing. Jeff Greer, thanks, from the Field of 68. Nobody covers Louisville better, and hopefully we won't talk again soon, Jeff. Like, hopefully nothing else comes up anytime soon.
Yeah, there you go. I like that attitude.
All right. Thanks, my man.